you are a walking magnet.
Right.
And so you have the ability to attract, but also repel, just like a magnet does.
Today's guest is Nikolas, a trailblazing coach who's helped more than 3,000 men turn raw sexual energy into magnetic masculine leadership.
Discipline is freedom. You cannot have not discipline and think I'm free. No, because you're actually trapped by the thing you're lusting for. Lust has brought down the biggest empires. Mark Antony and Cleopatra, one of the greatest examples, most powerful man potentially on the planet at the time. And Cleopatra was able to seduce him. And that was, a part of the crumbling of the Roman Empire.
From a headline-making run in Canadian politics to millions reached online, Nikolas blends bold spirituality with battle-tested strategy.
I started studying different traditions around the world because each of them teach regulation around sexual energy as a key component to our own growth, especially as men.
Showing men how to master their bodies, elevate their minds, and lead with divine wisdom. Get ready to rethink lust, discipline, and what true power really means.
Thanks for coming, man. I've been looking forward to the conversation. We chatted years ago, and I've been tuned into your stuff for a while, and I think your message is important, both around reclaiming personal power and sovereignty, as well as a message of hope, of connection. And I'd love to just, before we dive in and go wherever this conversation takes us, tell me a little bit about what you do and what got you here.
Sure, thanks. Well, first of all, thanks. This space is awesome. It's like fantastic. It's just got such a cool vibe. And you guys are super welcoming. Like we've been chatting, basically came in, just felt like friends, like with Fabienne, yourself. And I know we've met before, but it was just like, what a great vibe. And so I'm looking forward to it. So what I do is I help men master their sexual energy and unleash their God-given abilities. And when I say that at a cocktail party, I either get, "You two what?" or "Cool," and then walk away. I'm going to avoid that guy, right? And so there's, of course, we'll have a discussion about that. So that's what I do. And what was the second half of your question? What do I do? And
what brought you there?
What brought me there? The need to master my own, and, so I grew up Catholic. And so in Catholic school, they're like, no masturbation, no sex before marriage. But it's very, very fear-based, There's no explanation about why. So I'm sitting in church. You got priest boy saying, don't do all these things. Everybody's questioning the Catholic Church. Who are you to tell me anything about a sacred sexuality? And you got, the hottest chick in the class sitting right there, and I'm just can't stop staring at her. And I'm like, oh, so confusing, because what the message is not matching my biology. It's not matching what I'm feeling.
Right.
And so unless we bridge that gap or I have deeper spiritual understanding or knowledge, why the heck would you want to, first of all, I teach semen retention or promote the lifestyle called semen retention. Why the heck would you want to do that? The only reason you want to do that is not because you want to not bust a nut, right? Is because you actually have a higher purpose that you're working towards. So it's really not about, it's never about restraining, but it's about transmuting. We talk a little bit more about that. So my journey is that, I grew up in a Catholic setting and environment, didn't really take to it, really loved Jesus, thought this guy is cool. He's just out there shaking shit up, challenging people, challenging the status quo. He helped, evolve the consciousness of the people around them. That's how I view Jesus. Right? He was on a serious mission. And, I really dug that. But I couldn't get over some of the dogmas within religious settings. So anyways, I kind of, became, I would say, half atheist, agnostic, just put that all in a box, and then did what the culture told me to do. I put up 50 Cent and Tupac Shakur posters in my room. I smoke weed, I chase girls, and I try to be a rapper. No joke. I actually released a record called Token, TOK''N. Yeah, you can still find it. If you look up "Breaking the Game," it's it's a music video that I did back in the day. Yeah, and everyone thinks it's corny. Everyone's like, "This is gonna be really bad," and then they watch it and they're like, okay, this is like it's legit, right? It was pretty good stuff. So anyways, I did a bunch of rapping and chasing girls and all that stuff. And, but I got really tired of just like, so what, this is it, and I just ended up like just, smoking lots of dope and just wasting a lot of time. I even got off track of the music and everything, and just kind of all fell apart. And then I got into a car accident. It was like a head-on, like it wasn't horrible, cars are written off and such, but it was a shocking moment, like where I got like really shocked, like, and I was in a total daze. And in that moment, though, I clearly heard it was kind of like stillness. It was like forced meditation. Boom! Cars hit. Nothing. Silence. Almost felt like peace. But I remember checking my body to make sure like my ribs and everything were still intact. But it was like I was disconnected from my body because I was like almost like checking it like, okay, I'm fine. Like it's good. Like I was just witnessing myself do this. And that's when after that, I really started questioning. I'm like, man, like I could have really like, that could have been a lot worse. Like that could have been the end, right? And I think that really had an impact on me more than I even think as I reflect on it of like, man, what is life about? Like, what am I doing here? Is this my life? I'm like, just kind of like coasting by, not doing much. And anyways, that really just started, asking questions, and I got involved with personal development. Long story short, I've been on a tremendous spiritual path. And on this path, between personal development and spiritual knowledge, I love the word gnosis, wisdom, knowledge, right? Gnosis. It's just like, I just became hungry for like knowledge. But not like, geography and like whatever they're teaching us in school, right? Like real knowledge, like transformative. Who am I? What am I? What did Jesus say? What did Buddha say? What did Krishna say? I've studied all the major world scriptures over the last 10 years. I've been initiated into many different groups and societies. I've experienced culture by diving into culture and spiritual culture and being like, what are all these practitioners looking for? And I find that a lot of it is just, you define as just humans doing human things. So whether this religion, that religion, this religion, that religion, largely you're going to find a lot of the same nonsense. They have politics, they have their popular ones. And it's like, because humans are humans and we just create the same shit wherever we go. We just have different bows on it. And, there's two things that I learned. One is that I genuinely believe that everybody's worshiping the same omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent God. Agreed. And what we're arguing about is expressions, nuances. This is the other project, maybe I come back later and we talk about that when that's ready, but where we're talking about unity in spirit, diversity in expression. And I believe that's the way to go forward in a bigger societal look. So that's the first thing I learned. God is one. He can be worshiped in many ways. And once we all just understand that we have a unifying consciousness or spirit that connects us all, then no longer does it matter whether you are right wing or left wing, or you are black or you are white, or you are gay or you are straight. All of these identity politics and identity comes from this false sense that I am this body and I am this mind, and therefore everything that goes along with it. But what I learned in the spiritual process, which the spiritual process isn't just going to church or temple or something like this. That's part of it. To learn, like a school, you got to go somewhere to learn. You got to go to a teacher, whatever you call it, a guru, a teacher. I don't care what you call it, right? A coach, somebody who can help question and challenge and have those discussions so that you can start to wrestle with God, as I like to call it, right? Working it out. And in that, you start to look at yourself, because if you truly want to develop a relationship with God or with the divine within you, if you want to know who you are at a deeper level, you have to wrestle yourself, because then you got to realize, well, what's blocking me from knowing the spiritual truth about who I am? And oh my goodness, here's another unifying point. This actually unifies all religions, right? Lust is where we get off track. They all unanimously agree on that. So I'm looking for my opportunity to give my speech. By the way, I'm putting this out there into the collective at the World Religion Forum to all the religious heads and say, actually, do you know that you all agree on the point that lust is a detrimental part for the evolution of the soul as an individual. And if it's detrimental to the individual, then by equivalency, it's detrimental to the collective consciousness. So it matters to each and every single one of us how lust is dealt with and addressed. And I think that the old school way of don't do it, like my priest was doing in Catholic Church, doesn't work because I grew up, in the so-called science era. I don't know what that really means yet, but I was taught that I have biology and my biology is natural. And so therefore, the message that sex is sin and my biology does not match. And unless we bridge that gap, there'll be a ton of confusion. So what I see is two narratives. Don't do it, it's horrible, but yet go home and create lots of babies, because that's generally the religious message. It's horrible, it takes you away from the Lord. Make sure you create lots of babies. It's a total contradiction. And then the mainstream culture, get laid, get paid, like ass and titties, whatever Cardi B is rapping about these days. Isn't she the one who had the song WAP?
I wouldn't be the one to tell you.
Yeah, I think WAP is called Wet Ass Pussy.
Oh yeah.
And it's it won like Grammys and stuff, right?
Wow.
So the culture's celebrating this
Right.
essentially, right? It doesn't, it's in our marketing, it's everywhere. So there's this kind of exploitation of sexual energy, which really plays on our base desire of lust. And so it was super confusing to me because you're getting multiple messages and you're getting different opinions and thoughts everywhere. And then I thought to myself, so in the one sense, there's generally like this path of like become a monk. Totally just give it up and focus on spiritual endeavors, service. And then there's the mainstream path, which is like just have at it. And, porn culture and all of this kind of stuff. I was like, well, where's the middle ground? What about a guy like me who I'm married. I want to still have a physical relationship with my wife. I enjoy my wife very much on a physical level, as well as an emotional and intellectual and spiritual level. How do I do that? And is there a place for sex in a spiritual life? How do I integrate sexuality with my desire to still grow spiritually? And I'm not ready to be a monk or right? And so that became my struggle, which then became my path to solve that. And so I started studying different traditions around the world because each of them teach regulation around sexual energy as a key component to our own growth, especially as men. Women yet too, yes, but it weighs heavier on men, this particular journey, because lust is our Achilles heel, Mm-hmm. Me and my buddy were walking into Starbucks and we're having a very godly, saintly conversation, as we would laugh about and say. And then two chicks walk by and we're all like, and I'm like, yeah, God who? Yeah. Like that.
Yeah.
It's so strong. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. But let's understand it. So in that journey, eventually it took me down all of these rabbit holes around sexual energy, the practice of semen retention, Eastern philosophy about retention, sexuality, tantra, Taoist sexual kung fu, where I learned tons of practices, meditations, breath work, muscle control, how it affects our psychology, how it affects our overall health, how sexual energy is playing into our basic vitality. Then through the books like Think and Grow Rich, chapter 11 is called The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. So here Napoleon Hill's talking about getting successful and talking about your sexual energy must be in check and must be used, transmuting it. And then just to, modern papers written about the effects of pornography on the brain. There's a couple great books, Your Brain on Pornography and such. And so I started researching and just diving into this rabbit hole. It's been 10 years of me studying this subject and I'm still feel like I'm brand new. But in the process, I learned a ton of things, including how to stop masturbating myself, how to have non-ejaculatory sex and orgasms, how to practice semen retention and still be engaged in sexual life and activity with my wife. And I emphasize that because there's a big push on like, all kinds of different sexual lifestyles. And, I say, hey, yeah, you do you. At the end of the day, you got to find what's right for you and what makes sense for you. What I am advocating is that men really understand how you choose to express your sexuality is going to affect you far beyond the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, even your performance in the bedroom, any guy knows who's maybe like under stress and stuff and he just can't perform that night, he knows how his work is affecting his ability to perform. Well, it's vice versa. The way that you use your sexual energy or perform, not just in the bedroom, but how you use that motivator, it's playing in every aspect of your life. It's either going to drive you to greatness or it's going to be degradation, and it's going to drive you to be lower than the cats and the dogs. I have an ad that is out there that basically says this: if a man can't control his sexual energy, he is at the consciousness level of a cat or a dog. And I say that with all love and respect, but sometimes you have to hear it as it is so that you wake up and go, yeah, like sitting in front of the screen, right? Like doing that. I'm sorry, I'm sort of graphic on your podcast. Stu's like, okay, we're not bringing this guy back, right? But it's like, I actually, because that's the reality. Like I had to check in with myself and be like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? Is this the type of man I want to be? And how does this affect my life? That's a really long-winded answer of how I got here, but
yeah, man, there's a lot there.
yeah.
And I resonate a lot with your journey of self-discovery, of exploring different religions. I mean, I sold everything and bought a one-way ticket to India over a decade ago, and it really allowed me to come back to religion, to spirituality in a healthy way.
Yeah.
To see the church, the temple, the mosque, all on the same street corner.
Yes.
To see that these are all different faces of what we call God.
Yes.
Really beautiful. And I really also like what you said about at the end, how the bedroom impacts how we show up. I really believe that how we do one thing is how we do everything.
Yes.
And so if we're not bringing consciousness to it, if we're not bringing discipline, if we're not bringing containment to that in a healthy way that's directed and aligned with a higher vision,
Yes.
and instead we're chasing that next quick dopamine hit,
Yes.
whatever lustful behavior that is, well, then we're stuck on a hedonic treadmill that's always going to leave us more depleted.
That's right. Yeah.
I'd love for you to dive in deeper into this realization that you had about lust across the spectrum, across all of these cultures. What is it about lust, and what is lust from your perspective, and how is it impacting us?
Yeah, got it. So I think a good way to answer that question is to start with the second half, which is what is lust? And lust is the desire for sensual pleasure beyond nature's requirement. That's my right now definition that I've made. When I say right now, is because I'm like, okay, how can I articulate this? So what is lust? Lust is, I see a woman and I lust for her. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad, okay? So I'm just saying that there is an attraction. So I just left the gym, right? My gosh. I'm a man still. People think, you just don't like women? I'm like, no, I love women. That's why I got into this work, because I had to actually love women,
right,
and not lust women. I said, but I'm a lusty man, right? Being like, wow, there's some beautiful women there, right? Lust to me is you feel that natural arousal and attraction, but now you start to occupy your mind, and now you're desiring her beyond nature's expectation or reason. Like, for example, I'm married. I'm not going to go talk to those women. I'm not going to do anything other than it was a little nice eye candy. So lust would be me dwelling on that, and 3 hours later going, oh my gosh, and then going home, and that triggers a whole effect of maybe going home and watching adult content or pleasuring myself. That's all lust, because you're now taking the natural gift of pleasure or attraction, and it's way beyond nature's limits, right? Because you're not meant to actually self-pleasure.
Right.
And I know that could be controversial, because in today's world, they're telling you it's normal. This is fine, but I'm telling you, it's not. I'm challenging that, right? Spiritual wisdom is challenging that, no, it's not. So Is it judgment? No. Have I jerked off? Many, many times. All right. And I say that openly so you know, oh, well, I'm not a saint or telling you that I've dealt with this. I've explored this practically in my own life and been like, okay, what is going on here? So that's lust. But lust can manifest in other ways. So we generally think about it as lust of the flesh, right? Like lusting after sex. But we can lust after food.
Right.
You're taking more than what is required, right? Now I got to go to the gym, right? And work on that. You can lust after money. You're taking more than what is required for your vision or dream. Everybody requires different amounts of money. I'm not going to tell you what to require or not. That we call that communism. I'm not going to do that, right? But this is where consciousness has to be there. What do you need? What does your family need? And are you making money because you're delivering value in a service and helping people, and therefore you're exchanging money so you can stay in a life? Have at it, build it, billionaire, do what, I don't know, whatever your goals are. It's the motivation behind it. Or is it just, I need another billion because I'm going to show that guy that he's a loser, or I'm got to be number one. It's again, if it's creating more happiness and freedom, it's probably a good thing. If it's creating more anxiety, worry, stress, and it's bringing you into, you have to give up your character and your integrity for it, it's not a good thing. I think it was Jesus said, what is a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? In today's world, we can take that same line and say, if you have to break your integrity, you're losing your soul, and that's depleting you. So anything that drives you to go against your own integrity and soul, I would say is a lustful behavior in your life.
I love that way of looking at that, because I think it really expands the scope. And man, we live in a time where there's no shortage of ways to veer off course. Infinite options, quick access to distractions, to porn, to food. I can go on my phone and order anything.
Yeah, sure.
I can access anything. I can fall off the path. And I think that's what we have a lot of. And what I would warn, and I do warn in my practice, is like anytime more is your answer, then you don't have a clear enough why. Because if you're perpetually chasing more, you don't know where you're actually going. Like it's that quick hit of dopamine that comes and I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is doing something for me. But if it's not bringing that happiness, if it's not bringing the ultimate freedom, but it's bringing the quick hit, fuck, man, I'm going to leave that desiring more. So that's a good tell for somebody. If they're just chasing more without any end goal in mind, and anything clearer, like without any service, without any purpose, without any something bigger than themselves that they're serving, be it their family, their community, or God, or whatever it is, then it's so much easier to get the next dopamine hit than it is to, I think that's what discipline is. Discipline for me is choosing service and long-term vision over the next quick hit. 100%.
It's doing, I was at the gym right before we got here, and myself and my buddy Matt, it was saying like, because there was a particular exercise. God, I don't really like doing that one. And then he looks at me, he's like, that's exactly why we have to do it. And I was like, absolutely, right? Because again, like, it's because the championship mind, the champion's mindset is, I'm gonna do what's necessary, not what I feel like in the moment. I feel like having the cookie, but what's necessary is that I wait 2 hours and eat my meal on time so I get the higher result I'm looking for. But it's not just about the result externally. It's about actually being in self-control and discipline to dictate your own life. Discipline is freedom. You cannot have not discipline and think I'm free. No, because you're actually trapped by the thing you're lusting for. Lust has brought down the biggest empires. Mark Antony and Cleopatra, one of the greatest examples, most powerful man potentially on the planet at the time, and Cleopatra was able to seduce him, right? And that was, a part of the crumbling of the Roman Empire. Tiger Woods, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, even to this day, statistically, if he was to run, he would potentially, be a president. He just can't by the American laws, even though despite his reputation and such. what's really interesting though is like Bill Clinton, for a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, was a great president. I don't know, I don't care, right, type of thing. But the point I'm making is, but his reputation will always be, he caught a BJ in the Oval Office, right? And we don't even know that, I don't know the details if that's true or not, but that's the reputation, right? You know, it's like, so lust has brought men from the highest levels down. It's even part of, you know, political war tactics. You get a guy too powerful, hey, send a beautiful woman to go seduce him, get a few pictures. What do you think all of these parties and these islands that we've been hearing about? These were all blackmail operations because they knew they could pull people in, put them in these vulnerable positions, and then blackmail them. So now they're slave. They're slave. They've sold their soul. And we're doing it every day when we watch pornography. So we think of those, yeah, that guy sold his soul. Now bring it home. This is the real work. Forget the islands and the parties and the new, leave all that. Let's go here into, because our work has to be here.
Yeah.
First seek the kingdom, right? And the kingdom is within you. Then all else shall be done. It's simple. Go within, do your work here. And you'll recognize that lust is part of that. And I saw it in my own life, you know, how you know, past relationships that I've messed up because of lust, how it's hurtful to people, how we hurt people we love because we can't keep it in our pants, right? And then all the nasty qualities. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a specific line where Arjuna asks Krishna, what takes men astray from the righteous path, right? And the answer Krishna says is lust only, Arjuna, because from when lust becomes unsatisfied, so I can't get that woman, I can't have enough money, my muscles aren't big enough, I'm not fit enough yet, I'm not attractive enough, more social media followers, right? He said, when that lust becomes unsatisfied, which it won't be, and never will be, that unsatisfaction turns into anger. Anger turns into wrath. Wrath is the loss of intelligence. We start making dumb choices. And with dumb choices, the whole thing crumbles. And hence, the consciousness of a cat or a dog, we start acting like animals.
Big time.
Yeah, no, please go ahead. And then, because I just wanted to remember the second half, which was like the different cultural aspects you had asked me about. We can loop back.
Yeah, we can loop back.
Whenever.
Anytime, man. I just, what you're saying really resonates. And I like also what you said about commitment, because it's something actually that's been pretty fresh for me. Relationship has been one of the hardest places that I've struggled in my life.
Okay.
I've struggled a lot to maintain a relationship. I'll find passion, get into something, and then within 3 months, that starts to fade.
Yeah.
You know, oh, this next flashy thing.
Right.
And I always told myself I had commitment issues, you know, and then as I started to do deeper work and work with coaches, I realized, fuck, I'm one of the most committed people I know.
Yeah.
But there's something that's blocking in my relationship, and I haven't had a vision to serve something greater. But I also started thinking about commitment, and for the first time in my life, I'm experiencing the depth of freedom through commitment.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing. And what I'm working with right now as an idea of commitment is actually the removal of choices. I have one choice.
Yeah, that's right.
That's my commitment. And I experience so much liberation in that, because I spend my whole life seeking approval from women. My whole life. And like this whole idea of like sex being the ultimate form of approval.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, wow, if I can get that, or if I can get her attention, or the smile at the woman at the coffee shop or at the gym.
Right.
That's signifying that I'm worthy. It's signifying that I'm enough.
Right.
And for the first time, I just take all of that. I'm not looking for approval from anywhere else, because I've committed, and I experience the freedom of that. And anytime I do feel attraction, I thank God for the beauty of the world, and I pour it back into my relationship.
Yeah, that's a transmutation technique, right? You feel the attraction, you say, wow, God, you really knocked it out the park then. Wow. Now move on.
Right.
Move on. I see her as soul, right? That's the other thing. Like, that one thing to do is like, okay, you see a beautiful woman, great. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging a beautiful woman, in my opinion,
Right.
or a beauty. I can even look at a man, right, and say, wow, that's a good-looking dude, right? Good for him, right? It's no different than we look at an animal, and be like, wow, I was up near Hillsborough, Sunday, and visiting some friends there, and there was a beautiful horse, like drop dead gorgeous. Like I literally stopped and admired this horse, and I'm not even a horse guy. Like I'm not like but I was like, that is a beautiful horse, right? Beauty's attractive.
Yes.
Right. In the Vedas, in the Vedic, in the yogic culture, they describe God. So their word for God is Krishna, or their name, one of the names, but a main one is Krishna. And they say Krishna means the all attractive one. So one name they give to God is the all attractive. And so they talk about 6 basic qualities, and we're all attracted to these qualities. So fame, God is all famous. So he's the quality of fame is there. Wealth, God is all wealthy. God is all knowledge. God is all renounced. So he's the most detached, right? He does I don't give a fuck the best. Right? He's all strength, power. And I say the best for last. He's all beauty. So we're attracted to beauty. We like beautiful things. We like beautiful people. That's why models exist. It's just all a natural attraction for the divine source of that beauty, of that wealth, right? We all want God because we want relationship, fulfillment in relationship, right? And lust is actually, if somebody says to me, man, I'm really lusty, I'm like, great, you have the capacity to love. Because to the degree the pendulum swings to the left, just to the degree it can swing to the right. So if you can lust a lot, you can love a lot. If you can lust is a form of selfishness, because you're thinking about what you can get from this person. I can get validation, I can get sex, right? You're trying to validate me. So you're trying to take something on a subtle level. Some people say, oh, I'm not a thief. Oh, maybe you won't steal a cup of coffee or something. But do you want to steal attention? Do you want to, right? I mean, like that's the idea of like in Christianity, talk about don't covet your neighbor's wife.
Right.
Well, the only reason that's said is because that's what we were doing, right? You don't make a rule unless that's what people are doing, right? So you got to know these commandments or regulations that these different religions put out, and they've all put out different ones and argue. They're largely because the leadership or the soul that was serving those folks at that time and place, they saw where their people were getting off track. Today's world, it's so clear cut. It's lust. Like maybe in a different time period it was something else. Don't murder, right? I think for 99.9% of us, we're good. Even our wars are healthier, like in the sense we send drones now, right? Like right? Like right? Like but where we are, wildly out of control as a society is in our lust. With the rise of internet culture and pornography has just amplified that, right? So yeah, your path of self-discovery, your path of just being able to like question your own commitment and then eliminate choices is so beautiful. And that's true for anything,
Yeah.
Tell guys, you want to build your business to the next level? Burn your bridge.
Yeah.
Make it everything, right? Don't give yourself another choice. Because as soon as you give yourself another choice, as soon as you think that choice will be easier than this choice, which it won't be, you're gonna leave and do something else. Then you're gonna leave and do something else. And I spent many years doing that. And that's actually a symptom of lust. One symptom of lust is you start many things or get involved with many things and then don't see it through. So in the Vedas, they call that the mode of passion. So they talk about 3 modes to material nature: the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, the mode of goodness. The mode of ignorance is things that are detrimental for us, but we do it in a way that, like, drinking alcohol is a good example of an activity in the mode of ignorance. We all know alcohol is poison. we drink it for a good time. So we're like, this is great. We reward ourselves with a poison. That's called mode of ignorance. And I'm not innocent to not having a drink, but we should be at least aware of what we're doing. Like, oh, okay, like just think about it. How we do things that are actually detrimental to us, and then we call it good.
Right.
Right? That is total, complete ignorance. You're poisoning yourself, and you're saying you have a good time. It's complete delusion. Right? So we have to be conscious of that. Mode of passion is actually sexual energy. Passion, fire. It's get up and do things, right? That's what drives us actually to create business. That's what drives us to create economy. It's sexual energy can also be called creative energy. So we have creative power and energy. So for men, specifically when we retain our sexual energy, so we take on practices like NoFap, so not masturbating, not watching porn, take on practices like semen retention, which is also that, plus the addition of transmuting that energy, or basically for men like myself, in relationship, having non-ejaculatory sexual orgasms or regulating it in relationship, right? The Orthodox Jews, for example, in their community, it's Friday night. It's well known.
Shabbat.
Yeah. Friday night's time for you and your wife. You send the kids to the camp, wherever. Send the kids to temple, whatever you got to do, you know, and it's time. But the rest of the time, you're focused on, and as a man, you're focused on the main duties of a man, you know, the 3 Ps: provide, protect, produce, right? Provide, protect, produce. That's our basic duty as men. Are we providing, right? This doesn't necessarily mean in today's world you're the only one who makes money or not, but it means, are you providing, and not just materially, but are you providing an a safe emotional space? Are you providing by getting that project done around the house that she's asked you to do 3 times? Not because she's asked you to do it, but because you recognize it's your duty. She shouldn't ask you. Get your ass up early before the kids, and she does, and get the project done. First of all, watch how she will just be all over you.
Right.
You start doing the basics. You know, some guys tell me, oh, my wife, she doesn't give me enough. And I'm like, that's because you're not producing, protecting, and providing at a higher standard, I promise you. Because if you do those things, women almost can't help themselves.
They're amplifiers.
100%.
Whatever you, if that's a black box,
Yes.
whatever you put in
Yes.
is going to be amplified.
This is understanding the principle of gender. Gender, masculine, feminine, right? Gender in the gnosis, so in the Greek knowledge, was not used the same way we use the word today. So we talk about gender as like male, female, but gender in its original word actually means to regenerate, create, and procreate. That's what gender means. And so according to, this now would come from the Hermetica, right? Yeah, so we're talking about alchemy, we're talking ancient Egypt and Greece, right? Thoth, these deities, this book of knowledge. So this wisdom, which is what I pull a lot from of sexual alchemy, but it's parallel. You see the principles, because they're principles. What I appreciate about the Hermetica work is that it's presented without dogmatic religion. And that's why I really resonate with it. Yeah. It's like, we'll leave that up to the philosophers to, you know, decide what God's hair looks like or doesn't look like and argue about, come, let's be real. None of us know, because, right? Like, you know, like, and if you do know, great, then you know, but we won't believe you because, you know, it's so beyond our belief anyways. But I really appreciate the Hermetic book of knowledge because of it's presented as principles. So the principle of gender is has to be understood, because when you understand gender, then you'll understand as in a physical expression in the human society of man, woman, what the natural energetic role of the masculine, so therefore the man is in this scenario, is provider, protector, producer. Why? Because masculinity means order, or the penetrative factor. Essentially, it's the spiritual factor. It's actually what enters. That's physically we enter into a woman. We give the woman life seed, right? No different than putting a basil seed in the ground. Then the feminine energy amplifies that seed and brings it to life. You must have both masculine and feminine in everything if you want it to grow. So if you want to grow your business, you have to have both qualities of the masculine, feminine. Want to grow a baby. If you want to grow closer to God, because he's transcendental to masculine, feminine, you also have to become transcendental, but not to be mistaken with the material version, which is like transgender,
Right.
which is, I'm not making a claim for transgender or not. If someone's transgender, fine. That's like, you do you, right? But the principle is a spiritual principle. When we do confuse gender, though, which is being done on a mass level, right? It will confuse our ability to create, regenerate, and procreate, not just babies, but economy, nations. So if someone was really interested in reshaping a nation, they would confuse gender.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are seeing it.
100%.
We are seeing it. And I mean, whatever you call it, like polarity is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I work with a lot of nice guys, a lot of guys who have become just perpetual people pleasers,
Right.
right? And who don't have any masculine containment, who will default to the emotional state of their partner, who don't really even know what they want or need,
Right.
and sure as hell don't ask for it.
Yeah.
And so, then I'll start to get into, how's your sex life?
Yeah.
Right? Let me guess.
Yeah,
Not very good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there is a dynamic there that happens in a relationship. And I think it is important for us to be in touch with like the gender side is we have the feminine and the masculine within us.
Yeah.
But biologically, that's likely expressed more in one direction than the other. And
Absolutely.
I think when we can play that dance of polarity with a partner, you can really amplify, just like a magnet. You can amplify the connection. You can amplify that magnetic attraction between the two.
Yeah. One of my promises is I talk a lot about in my content magnetism. I'm going to help you become more magnetic. Well, one, you are a magnet. You are a walking magnet.
Right.
And so you have the ability to attract, but also repel, just like a magnet does, right? And so you can attract, and in a healthy relationship, like a long-term marriage, like guys say, oh, like, well, I'm in a long-term marriage, it just dies out. Mine hasn't.
No.
Why? Because there's there's polarity, right? And in fact, as I've done more of my own work as a man, I can see it even more. Right? Why? Because I've stepped more and more as time goes on into my own masculinity, understanding what that is. It's a journey. It's like going to the gym. It's not going to happen overnight. It's lifelong, man. You got to go to the gym consistently for the rest of your life, right?
100%.
Personal development, spiritual development, it's lives, it's lifetimes, it's an ongoing journey, but there's such beauty in it. You actually I found for myself, I would say, the most fulfillment when I'm growing, I'm learning new skills. I'm sitting here talking to you. I just finished working out with a bodybuilding champ. Like, it's kind of intimidating next to a guy whose arm is as big as your waist. But it's like, just as I continue to stretch myself and take on bigger challenges and put myself around men like yourself, men that are doing great things, iron sharpens iron. Men sharpen men. And so, yeah, there is a lot of guys, and I can totally relate, that are lost, feeling lost, not really sure. One of the best things to do is get involved with other strong men, because they're going to rub off of you just like iron sharp, and you're going to get stronger. You're going to catch the mindset.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, man. And I love that. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And so man sharpens man. And that's the thing, is like, I've heard so many men, and unfortunately young men also, like who are early into relationships, early into marriages, who say like, well, you know how it is after 5 years. You know how it is after 10 years. Like,
I don't know
fuck
how it is.
that.
Yeah.
It's like, if I go, I love camping.
Okay.
And I go out, I love being in the woods. I love being in there in the late fall. When the temperature starts to drop, I tend to a fire.
Yeah.
But if I don't nurture that fire, it dies.
Yeah, that's right.
To bring it back to what you were saying earlier about culture and like this theme, as you were doing this deep research and really some soul searching and noticing that lust seemed to be this through current that seemed to manifest through all of these different esoteric and different philosophies around the world. What is that? Tell me more about like that seeming true current.
So all the scriptures, you know, we were talking about the Hermetics and the word of gender,
Right.
and how important it is. So the whether it's, you know, the Hermetica, or it is the Bhagavad Gita for the Hindus, or the Bible, you know, for the Jewish Christian tradition, the Quran speaks and has some verses, or they call it shuras, as well as the Buddhist sutras. They all have commentary, some verses around, call it sexual morality and the use of it. I would say that the Taoists and the Tantric traditions, they dove deep into it, and they really like amplified the understanding, which I think is what's really relevant for that book of knowledge is really relevant. And that's essentially what I'm calling sexual alchemy, is that book of knowledge, right? And saying like this particular book of knowledge is going to be more relevant in today's world than it was even then. But if they had books on it back then, it's because somebody was asking, right? It was like, so it's not a new thing. And so what I noticed is by studying and spending time in all these different traditions and learning, and I still continue to do, it's just a passion of mine, is they all point to that lust is kind of like the factor of which takes us astray from our value systems. It lowers our consciousness to bodily consciousness, or what I call animal or bodily consciousness, okay? So there are four main activities of the body. The body wants to eat, the body wants to sleep, the body wants to find comfort, sit in some nice chairs, a beautiful environment, watch some TV. Kind of in the world of comfort, we'll also say that it's important to protect the body, right? Like, you know, violence, we're gonna protect ourselves, right? The body will always look to protect itself. Security, I want locks on my door, you know, whatever it is, right? And the body wants to reproduce, right? So it wants intimacy, it wants sex. These are the four activities of the body. The body, so we share these activities with all the rest of the species on the planet. Everybody's doing this, right? Everybody's eating, sleeping, everybody's trying to protect themselves, get some comfort in their life, and everybody's looking to reproduce. So inherently, there's nothing wrong with it. There's just the activities of the body, right? The human form of life, though, presents further activities, right? So we also do those four things. However, we do so much more than those four things. This is what makes us unique to the cats and the dogs and the pigs and everybody else, is the human form of life opens up the sciences. It opens up the arts. It opens up economics and business. It opens up a culture, right? So the human form of life has a whole different dimension in which we go beyond the body's needs and survival to mental expressions, creative expressions, artistic expressions, scientific endeavors, right? Technological advances. This is all part of the human civilization. So the idea is that what the wisdom traditions around the world all realized was that if our people become too lusty, they forget or have no energy for the higher human civilizations, great architecture and art and science and discovery and literature and stories and all these beautiful things that make being human, human. We don't have time for that. We don't have room for that. Why? Because I'm only chasing the bodily instincts. That's why I say your consciousness, what are you aware of? Okay, we know you're aware of the needs of your cock. I don't know. I was trying to think of a nicer way to say it, right? Of your genitals, right? You know the need to reproduce. You know attraction. But do you know the higher things? Then above the human, above or the potential, according to these traditions, of even higher than the creative expressions, which gives us human civilization and economics and wealth and prosperity and higher taste of the human form of life from a material perspective. But then if we can completely transcend lust, we can know spiritual life. Because from a vibrational perspective, lust, it's all on a scale. if love is the high end of the scale, call that God, then the opposite end of the scale is the opposite of love. Well, love is complete selflessness, and lust is the expression of selfishness. So they're actually the same, but on opposite ends of the scale. No different than like hot and cold are on a spectrum. It's just the matter of degree. That's why you go to one thermostat and you go, it's cold in here, I'm going to turn it up. What are you turning up? The same element, which is now creating heat. Lust is at the low end of the spectrum. And then what we're going to do through alchemy is turn it up. We're going to boil it. And we're going to turn it up like water. I like the analogy of ice, material, hard, lust. Boiled up, that water starts to loosen up. It's the same thing. Chemically, it's the same thing, but now it's vibrating at a higher level. So now it's water. Oh, it begins to loosen up. Oh, I'm not as lusty. Just think about my wife. Oh yeah, I don't have to think about every Instagram model I see. Oh yeah, I don't have to, oh, you'll automatically just feel looser in your body. There'll be more space. Your energy will be able to flow easier. You're more relaxed. Now your natural personalities will come through because you're not so tight. Now you can chill out a bit. You say, oh, you know what? Actually, you know what I used to love doing as a kid? I used to love to draw. Why don't I draw? Why? Because you're loose. You're not just lusting after the next dopamine, the next base desire, right? And then the water, boil it up even more, and it becomes steam. Chemically the same thing. Water, ice, water, steam. Ice, lust, base, dense, physical. Water, creativity, more fluid, liquid. Like, okay, I'm at ease. I can now do things with my energy. That's transmutation. You can build wealth. You can build business. You can build all kinds of cool stuff there. And if you want to take it to the next level, then you go spiritual, boil it up even more, and it turns into steam. And now you have, in the Sanskrit word is called ojas, aura, magnetism. Because now you're vibrating at a high frequency, creating a higher frequency, which is going to emanate much more of a Christ-like, God-like, Krishna-like energy, which is like a loving spirit, a spirit of service, a spirit of wanting to give. So all of these qualities that religions speak about, what is often missed, other than I would say in the Tantric and Taoist traditions that I've seen, maybe in some of the Gnostic Christianity, the more the stuff they took out of the Bible, right, you know, right, the stuff they didn't want you to know, right, but is like that actually the whole secret to it is the transmutation of your sexual energy, you know, the Kundalini and all of these type of languages that we use to describe this coiled up base idea of a serpent that's coiled up, it's dense, your energy's trapped here. And that's what constant ejaculation does for a man. It's literally a downward flow of energy and out, a depletion. You're giving up your energy. That's why it's sacred, because you're giving up some of your life. You're giving up, every man knows as soon as he's done, right? You need a nap. Well, there's chemical reasons for that. Like prolactin is released every time a man ejaculates. Prolactin is like nature saying, good job. But nature doesn't know whether you did that with your partner for the purpose of pregnancy, or you did that to pixels on a screen in your sock.
Right.
Nature, it just knows, it just triggers like a computer. Ejaculate, prolactin. Well, prolactin is a testosterone stifler. It basically tells your system, we're good. We just did our duty. We just passed our genes on. It doesn't know you passed the genes on to the sock. It just goes, the genes are out. And now what it needs to do is replenish those fluids. So semen is concentrated blood, essentially. So according to Ayurveda, what we ate 30 days ago has gone through refinement processes. So it goes through these different, what they call dutas. So the ability, like, tissue, bone marrow, blood, blood into marrow, and then from marrow drips semen. So semen is about like concentrated blood. Let's call it like a refined or pure form of blood. And what is a refining process? It's bringing it down to its most potent substances. So what happens in the process of semen retention, after about 7 to 10, 14 days, depending on the guy, his health levels, various factors, right? The body is going to go, hey, man, you're not being fruitful and multiplying, right? Like you haven't ejaculated. So our genes are no longer like have an opportunity to spread. So we're going to have to help you out here from a biological level. So what happens is your testicles are then stimulated to produce more testosterone. So what happens is there's a testosterone spike that happens. And that's when guys feel that, you know, they call it the super Saiyan, or like, oh, I'm on semen retention. There's all these funny memes of guys like, you know, I've been fapping, I'm like this. And then they're like, 10 days of semen retention. They're like, yeah. Well, that energy that they're feeling is the testosterone spike, right? That they're getting, oh, yeah. Why? Because nature is saying, hey, you got to go and make yourself an attractive man. So I need you to be more masculine. Well, testosterone is the masculine factor. So the more testosterone we have running through our system, then what does that do? Well, what happens is that testosterone starts to motivate us, starts to clear the brain fog, starts to get us on purpose. All of a sudden you're motivated to be like, yeah, I think I do want to, whatever you're, this is where it becomes an individual expression. That's why it's going to unleash your God-given abilities. For me, I want to go out and teach and rally and motivate because that's my disposition. For an artist, he may want to shut down and be like, I'm going to just get into my art, and he'll notice he'll produce the best art in an aroused state, right? Because the mind will be vibrating. You'll be like, creativity will be flowing. You can't do that when you're depleted of your energy. You're like a battery. If your battery's drained, where are you going to go? What are you going to create? Nothing. You're going to just do the basics. You're going to survive. You're going to do enough just to survive, go home and have a beer at the end of the night. But if you want to get out of that cycle and you want to know something deeper, you have to have energy to give to it. And so as a man continues to practice retention, then the body is producing semen all the time. But what happens is it kind of like goes into an excess. As I like to say, the cuppeth overfloweth, right? It's like, you see, now you have more energy than you even need. So nature likes that. Life likes life. Anything with life is supported with more life. And so what ends up happening is the body, from a biological perspective, redistributes all that refined blood, which is your best proteins, enzymes, nutrients, zinc, phosphate. There's like something like 23 different enzymes. And semen is a potent chemical compound because biologically speaking, mixed with the sperm, it is the nutrients for the new baby. So when you ejaculate, sperm with the semen is supposed to be placed into the woman, just like you would place a seed into fertile soil in the ground. It's the same principle. And life in the mixture of energy between the masculine seed and the feminine environment, nurture, will produce procreation, creation, rejuvenate. When you practice semen retention, the body goes, wow, we've got a lot of like good stuff. And so we're good to reproduce. When you're ready, I'm ready, right? So the body goes, what are we going to do with this? Well, let's redistribute it. So what it does is it reabsorbs some of the semen back into the blood flow and redistributes all of that refined stuff back into the blood flow, which then your blood will then distribute it to parts of your body that may need healing. Hey, let's repair those dead cells. You do semen retention with fasting and boom, you're like gold because you're going to just purify everything, right? Now, it's difficult because you're going to also notice like going on a detox or a withdrawal. You're going to notice the toxins. You're going to, this is where guys relapse. They're going to notice all their lust is going to come up. It's going to bring up so much stuff from the subconscious mind. But that's how you have to clean the mind out. You have to clean the heart out. I said, think of the mind as like a deep ocean. And at the bottom of the ocean, there's all gunk down there. Well, the only way to clean up that ocean is you got to go down there and bring that gunk up to the top. Now, when it's at the top, now you can deal with it, right? You could deal with that sadness. You could deal with that heartbreak. You could deal with how mom didn't love you enough, and that's why you're seeking validation from women, or how dad, was cruel, and so therefore you're cruel. You can deal with all that because it's all going to come up, and this is where the approaching process becomes so important as part of the process. Because semen retention itself is difficult because of what it brings up. And then you have to be able to have tools to deal with that. And that's the breath work and everything that we teach in that sense, right? To support guys through this process. But biologically, it's purifying you. It's going to redistribute all that stuff. It's also going to start to replenish the spinal fluid. And your spine is the highway for light to travel, for energy to travel. So therefore, your spine starts to get all pleasant. And then when that energy eventually reaches to the brain, then you get the activation of the pineal gland, and you're very intuitive. Brain fog disappears, you're focused, and you are literally vibrating at a higher level. So your thoughts, your words are magnetic. So therefore, you're going to attract. When you jump on the sales call, people are going to want to do business. If you're a single man and want to attract a high vibrational woman or a good woman, she's going to look for a high vibrational good man. And so it's going to allow you to heal at a high level. And just the simple practice of controlling it is going to bring such discipline into your life that discipline then translates into discipline into your work, your workouts, your kids, all aspects. Because discipline is, like you said, when you treat one thing, you treat everything. So when you do one thing with excellence, you're going to do everything with excellence. Semen retention is a high form of self-discipline and value, recognizing I'm not just going to give this energy away for nothing to some pixels on a screen, to some, webcam chick, or to some woman that I just met 3 minutes ago and we're drunk. And while it seems fun and guys think they want more of that, well, so does my dog and cat. Hence, that's how a dog or a cat thinks. Inherently, is that wrong? No. But for men who are interested in experiencing life beyond just base desire, it's the scientific path of spirituality. It's not the dogmatic path, because I'm not telling you any rules, and I'm not telling you to worship this or worship that. I believe there's a place in that. I worship and stuff, but you come to your own conclusions there. The process itself will bring people onto their path.
Yeah,
I've seen it. I've seen guys doing semen retention, NoFap. I've even had guys goes, I'm not very spiritual, but I need some help. No problem. Let's just deal with the lust. And then like 3 months later, they're like, yeah, I was up all night thinking about Jesus. And I'm like, oh, where are you now? Tell me about that. Or Krishna or Buddha, because I've seen God show up in many forms into people's lives to work with where they're at. And I just help facilitate that process.
I really like what you said about this idea of lust and love and the spectrum in between. And, that really being the essence of the alchemy. And I even think about that at a relational level, as this idea from going from transactional to relational.
Yes.
Really this idea of selfish. What can I get out of this interaction?
Yeah.
Be it a business, a relationship, any woman I see anywhere, any kind of relationship.
That's right.
What can I get out of it to, this relational dynamic where all of a sudden it becomes selfless. It becomes not this whole self-centered thing. And I mean, fuck, you want to make yourself miserable, make yourself the center of everything.
So just do an experiment. For the next 3 minutes, and by listening, right? 3 minutes, just think of yourself. And you'll see how you feel at the end of those 3 minutes. Then take the next 3 minutes and think of others in the context of how could I possibly help someone's life around me? And at the end of the 3 minutes of imagining you helping in the capacity that you can, notice how good you feel.
100%. And I mean, traditions do that, like the Metta Sutra practice. As I spent my time in India and took that later, like I sat a lot with the Metta Sutra practices, starting with myself, giving love, and then practicing in meditation, consciously expanding that. And how much lighter and service-oriented I thought as that was happening. And let's get practical. Let's get tactical, because you're starting to really talk about the science.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, guys, well, I'm the one that's been watching through the pixels, depleting my energy. Whatever it is, I know my life isn't thriving right now, and I know there's more being asked of me. I don't know what it is, but this sounds like maybe an interesting place to start. Where does a man who's never experienced with semen retention, but he wants to start to alchemize lust into a higher calling?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is you're, if you're wise enough, conscious enough, aware enough to even have that conversation, then you're on the right path because you're actually asking the deeper questions of life. So confusion is good. The Buddha said suffering is your path. What he meant by that is suffering will teach you until the point that you're like, you realize you can drop the suffering too. That's also, as you go on your journey, you can also choose not to suffer, but suffering must teach you to make that choice. So if you're sitting there and you have a form of suffering, I'm challenged, I don't know why purpose, I'm not clear, that's all a form of suffering. Then the first thing is to acknowledge it, right? And say, okay, yeah, no, I'm really not living up. And I recognize that my passionate energy, my sexual energy has actually been taking me off path. It's wasting time. I'm just scrolling, looking at chicks. I'm swiping left, swiping right. I got, I'm maybe dumping money into an OnlyFans account or into some, like I think Tinder, you got to pay something to swipe if you're a guy. Like it's all geared towards guys to get you to spend your money, like, right? So there's, right. So if you're just take an inventory check, because you have to deal with the reality as it is and stop avoiding it. You cannot avoid your way to success. You must go to the gym if you want the body. You can't read about the gym. It's good to read about the gym. It's good to learn and watch the motivational guys and but if you want the body, put the phone down and go to the gym. So similarly, this is like the gym for your mental and energy body. That's what I said. Like semen retention is a gym for the mind and your energy. And so take an inventory check. If you say, yeah, this has got me, then generally you're starting in one of few places. First of all, if you're watching the pixels on the screen and that's got you trapped, that's the first thing you have to deal with, because there's no transmutation. There's no cultivating that energy. There's definitely no non-ejaculatory sex and these higher forms of sexual practices that are super pleasurable, intimate. Like some of the best sex I've had is non-ejaculatory because it's been some of the most connected. You can last as long as you want. You can please your woman. She can have a great time. She can orgasm 3-4 times because a woman is designed for pleasure. You're actually designed to give her that pleasure, right? So if you're just imagining her doing all these things to you and you're not imagining you doing anything to her, the way you're approaching sex is very selfish, right? So this is going to really have you show up powerfully in the bedroom, but none of that's available when you're watching. None of the higher practices is if you're constantly depleting yourself. Plus, pornography has a whole slew of negative hormonal effects, negative effects to the brain. It's been shown to reduce gray brain matter in the brain. It with enough watching, it actually reduces and has damage to the prefrontal cortex, which is your main long-term decision-making place, meaning you will become compulsive. Just like any other addiction. Now you want to eat more. Now you're staying up late. You can't fall asleep. Why? Because your hormones are all out of whack, right? So a lot of the things that people are talking about, sleep deprived, I can't sleep, I can't pay attention, I'm not focused. Very few doctors, if any, are going to be like, how much porn are you watching? Because if you're watching porn and you're noticing all of those symptoms, brain fog, can't make a decision, feeling low energy, lethargic, you want to get things done, you don't have the energy to it, and you're jerking off watching porn, it's the first place to start. So that's the first place to start. Now we've got some specific trainings around helping men specifically with pornography, vices, or all-out addictions. Once we've got that under control, maybe you're not even perfect, but you've got it under control. It's not like, you're not like running to the washroom during work to whack one up, right? Which I've done. Hey, be back in 15, right? Right? So, then you can move on to the higher practices of transmutation. So these are the alchemy techniques, right? So we can prepare you for that. And then you want to learn, first of all, the bare minimum, which is like, I call it the semen retention minimum standard to say I'm practicing semen retention, is that you only ejaculate during sexual activity. That's the bare minimum, meaning if you can at least get yourself to never watch porn and to never masturbate, you will be probably in the top 15, 10% of men on the planet now.
Absolutely.
Easily. The stats are wild. 25 to 35% of all internet searches is adult content. So if the internet represents our collective conscious, our collective mindset and process, 20 to 35% of that thought, energy, and power is going to like voyeurism, watching. So wild amounts of human energy is being focused there, okay? So get out of that percentage. If you could just do that, just ejaculate through real sex, you will notice a difference.
Yeah.
And there's
100%.
hormonal benefits to actual physical intimacy with a real partner. So the hormones have been studied to show that there is a difference between when you are doing it yourself and when you're with your partner and she's doing it for you.
I'm sure somebody can feel that.
And you could totally feel it.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of guys can't feel it because they're too much into drugs, into alcohol, or like they've lost touch with something. That's why the breath work and the somatic exercises of getting back and getting in our body again. Yes, embodied is so important as part of this, because you have to feel again. You have to be like, oh yeah, look, notice how I feel when I do these things, and notice how I feel when I don't. Don't take my word for it. I'm presenting you as much evidence as that I can to present a good case to say you should give it a shot. But you won't ever actually believe me until you give it a shot.
Right.
And then first of all, see how difficult it is to quit. I didn't know that this was a thing because it was just normal to me, watch porn, rub one out, whatever, I need to do it to get my brain back, right? Like I can't concentrate. Let me go rub one out. Problem is now I don't feel like doing the work that I was trying to, being distracted from, right? So the point is do it yourself and you'll know, you'll feel it. So the higher practice, so that would be the base standard. Then from there, only in a committed relationship or at least in a loving exchange, right? Like have like standard. Don't just take the drunk chick home at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
Trust me, there's nothing good that's going to come out of that. Save yourself the drama at least. Save yourself a peaceful breakfast. At best, save yourself the cash. Go home. Walk home. Walk it off, right? Because there's just a whole lot of problems with that, right? Energetically speaking, every time that you have intercourse with someone or even exchange that energy with someone, even if you just make out with them or whatever, you're connecting with them. Oxytocin is being released, which is a bonding substance. So hormonally, you're bonding. That's why breakups are so hard. Because you've bonded with that person. Sex is a bonding activity. So when you have sex with someone, you are bonding with them. So if you had, if especially on the woman's side, men were a little bit can be because of our biological design, we can feel like we're polyamorous by nature. Because in one sense, you could make that argument because we biologically speaking, sex is for reproduction, and so the more partners we have, the more our opportunity for our genes to spread. That's why men are attracted to multiple women, right? So yes, there is a natural, when I say natural, there is a bodily pull towards, sleeping with many women. Energetically speaking though, it's very unfulfilling. Any guy that's honest will tell you that. Like I've had 100%. One night stand, as soon as it's done, I'm like, I'm out. And I'm like, what did I do? Or I'm totally turned off by the situation. Like I just want to get out of there, right? That is totally unfair to yourself, first of all, because you totally devalue yourself, right?
100%.
You totally devalue yourself. We talk about men of value. Men of value are like men who sleep around. That's like the Andrew Tate version of masculinity or something like that, right? Which is playing to the boyhood like fantasies. Yeah. And he's smart. He's a marketer. He knows what he's doing, and he knows it's bullshit. Like he's a smart guy, but he's a smart guy that, in my opinion, is playing on what he understands is our base psychology, right? Or he's just bought into it, but that's why he's so angry, right? As like he doesn't look like a happy dude, right?
No.
I meet some guys who are like really happy, and they're generally in committed relationships. They've got kids or purpose of some. I don't have kids, but I have. People say to me, "Oh, you don't have kids." I'm like, "You kidding me?" I've had over 3,000 men come through my training programs in the last 4.5 years. I got about 3,000 of them. I spend so much time serving and giving, but that's my life, right? For other guys, it's kids. For whatever it is, it's their dog. Their work. there's something that the happiest men that I've met are men who are living for something beyond their balls
1000%.
and their stomach.
Yeah.
So hence fasting, regulate the eating, semen retention, regulate that, and watch you get on purpose, get on track. Not overnight. It's like the gym, but progressively. You'll just notice as you regulate and you clean up and you regulate and you clean up, you're just gonna get better and better and more driven. And then you know what's really interesting? You start to lose the taste for things. Like I don't watch porn anymore because I don't want to. Not because it's a sacrifice. I'm not trying not to watch porn anymore. That was at the beginning.
Right.
I just don't watch porn. I don't masturbate anymore. Not because I'm trying not to masturbate. I did at the beginning. You know, I did the count the days and, you know, I had a few sweaty nights, like just staying up like, oh, I'm so horny, oh my God. Because I'm just used to like rubbing it out, right? But now I don't masturbate because I know how much lower energy and crappy I feel when I do, as opposed to when I'm retaining and I'm eating clean and I'm hitting the gym and I'm going to bed on time and I'm rocking my world and we're making an impact and we're developing and we're growing. That's so much more fulfilling. It's called catching the higher taste. The way to give up a lower habit is not to stop the lower habit it's to take on higher habits in which you feel so good and fulfilled doing that you lose the taste. Do you want to watch porn? I don't have time for porn, man. We're trying to like shift consciousness on the planet. I don't have 15 minutes to scroll or a half an hour to pick a good video to then deplete myself and feel shitty after. Purpose is what we're missing. But if somebody doesn't know their purpose, because I know we talked about like some guys feel purposeless or don't know, I guarantee you one thing that you need to know your purpose is vibrant health and energy.
100%.
So work on that first, and the rest will start to take care of itself. It'll reveal itself from within.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to add, and you're starting to build that discipline.
Yes.
Like you said, where you do it somewhere, you're going to start to see those dividends pay off in other parts of life. And the model I've developed around this idea of like, you said, now I just don't desire that. And it's like, I've developed a push-pull model in my head. You know, when I go to the gym now, that's automatic. I notice when I don't.
That's right.
Right? Just like you would if you had done some behavior that is no longer serving
you'll
you.
notice
you notice. But at first, it takes a push.
Yes.
Because you're breaking a routine, you're rewiring your nervous system, you're rewiring your habits. And so it's going to take a push to get beyond that. And ideally, you know, or maybe not ideally, but like structurally, it might take accountability. It might take support. It might take a coach, a program, a brotherhood to be able to support you and check in on you. Hey, how you doing with that commitment that you said you're going to do? And once you start to train that, it becomes a pull. Because you know there's something greater. And I'm no stranger to addiction.
Neither am I.
So I know like when I've tried to stop doing something, and to your point, when I hyper obsess on that thing, I'm just in this day-to-day battle that I'm setting myself up to lose. Whereas like I'm realizing in those moments how magnetic I am. Because I attract it.
That's right.
So wherever I'm starting to shift my focus and my attention and actually nurture and bring the resources and attention that's required to develop the higher thing, then all of a sudden, that's where my energy's flowing. Not all the time. I catch myself, I'm flawed and I'm fallible. Like
this is not about not being human.
100%.
Right? Like some guys, like I know I'm really passionate and I'm like, you know, blah, blah, blah. But passion with compassion. The compassion that's why I get on the internet. And I'm like, because if I can get on the internet and say, look, I've jerked off and I've watched webcam chicks and I've been to strip clubs and I've tried, you know, all the drugs and I've done all that. I've partied like that. Because who hasn't? Statistically, everybody's watched porn.
Right.
So let's just cut the bullshit and talk about life for real. And be like, and that's what I mean by you have to deal with life. Stop avoiding your life. That's porn is an avoidance.
100%.
It's largely an avoidance. I can't deal with my loneliness. I can't deal that I'm sitting here. I can't deal with the fact that I have social anxiety and I don't have a friend group to go and call and be like, yo, let's go grab a coffee or whatever. I don't feel like I'm doing anything with my life. So I'm just going to watch porn and chase pleasure because that distracts me from this emptiness that I'm feeling. See, porn, like many other vices, are branch issues, not the root.
Right.
Porn is not your issue, but there's generally something deeper going on that we need to deal with.
Yeah.
But we need a vehicle to work in, so we can work with the obvious vehicle of, well, let's get rid of that.
And for some people, I think that's an important piece to note, because whether it is through this vehicle or going to the gym or fasting or whatever it is, often, you know, if I invite a man into his breath or into these practices, it's going to feel more intense.
Yes.
And for some people, it's going to almost feel like they're backtracking.
Yes.
Because
at the beginning it will.
Yeah,
Yes.
right? Because you are developing a deeper sense of awareness
Yes.
about what is going on in your inner world.
Yes.
Because again, like, you could go day to day with infinite distractions and not ever have to think about what you're actually avoiding.
Yes.
But when you get a little bit calmer, a little bit quieter, or make space for what you've been resisting, what you've been avoiding, it's, as you said earlier, it's going to be dredged up to the surface.
Yes.
And so for many men and women, that will feel like a regression.
Yes, it will.
That will feel like a backtracking. And so knowing that, like, when that inevitably comes up, because it will, that's not a backtracking, that's a revelation. Something is being revealed to you for you to be able to sit with, not to get the ADHD medication, not to go get the next prescription or the next quick pill, because people could go and get that. If there was a quick pill to be able to get you all the muscles, people would be taking it.
Yeah.
But this shit's hard.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's unfortunate, because you also, when you take the quick pill way, you're actually losing the growth. That's why the pill doesn't work. As soon as you get off the pill, you go back to old habits, because you haven't actually dealt with the root issue. So you have to ask yourself, you have this life to live. How do you want to live it? Do you want to live it as a slave to pleasures? Or do you want to live it on purpose?
Yep.
You know, and it's fun to joke around with your buddy. Oh, yeah, pleasure's fine with me, man, blah, blah. But then you go home and you really think about it when you're quiet, and you like feel like crap. And that's the thing with men specifically. That's why what you're doing is really beautiful. It's a nice thing, because with men specifically, we generally aren't vulnerable, and we generally don't want to say anything. And, you know, we're just like, we don't want to be a bother to anybody, or like, I'll just suck it up, or we just settle. Well, this is life. This is life. But it's not life. It's not what we're designed for. It's not what we're meant for. We're living very unnatural lifestyles. And it's time to get back to more natural, simpler living, which is what I found in spiritual cultures. I didn't find it in mainstream cultures, right? I found it in spiritual cultures. I found like, wow, yes, I've had my own hang-ups about religion, believe me, right? Like, you know, there was a time that, you know, I was like, not a chance. Like, you won't find me near a church, a temple, you know, nothing. Now I couldn't believe, I cannot ever see myself leaving those types of communities and people, because there's real love and connection there. Yeah, there's a lot of human shit. I'm not selling you some perfect pill. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. It's work, it's discipline. But like you said, when you put in that work and discipline, there's a deeper fulfillment that comes, because you know you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to the world, but you know that you put in the work. You know that you're putting it in, day out. You know, it's all the unseen things. That's what makes you confident.
Yeah.
It's when you know, hey man, I'm getting to bed early. I'm getting up early. I'm putting it in at the gym. I've got my meditation practice on point. I'm handling my duties at home. I'm showing up as a husband, as a father, as a businessman, as a career man. I'm doing life.
Yeah.
That's going to ooze off you.
You also start to trust yourself.
Yes.
Right? Because you start to build a stack of evidence that you are the man that's to be trusted.
Yes, I'm worthy of it. That's where you'll feel worthy, because you're like, you can trust me.
Right.
Trust me when I tell you these things.
Well, you don't even need to ask somebody to trust you.
That's true. Yes.
Because you start to radiate that.
Yeah.
Like as I develop the stack of evidence that proves like, oh yeah, I am the man that is willing to sacrifice that quick hit of dopamine, because I'm here to serve something greater. I'm here to pour that love into my relationship. I'm here to pour that love into my community. I'm here to serve a creation of something new.
Yeah.
Something ancient, something new. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to make the sacrifice of all the times that I want to distract myself, because I'm building a stack of evidence that proves I'm the guy that's willing to do that. And that's a high value man. It's not actually based on what his bank account says or how many people he's fucked or any of these things. These are not, despite what anybody might think and what mainstream culture says about what a high value man is, that's not it.
That's actually a low value man. And value by nature is something that's rare, right? So the idea that you're sleeping around, I get the understanding of like, oh, it's high value because you're very desirable. I said, but you're also sleeping around, so you're accessible. Value in its sense, we tend to value things that are more rare. So actually, a really high value man, it's kind of hard to get to him because he's out there living life on purpose, and he's doing, and not because he's artificially creating scarcity around himself. That's marketing. That's what the De Beers family did with diamonds. We artificially create, diamonds are everywhere. Diamonds are not as valuable. We're paying thousands and thousands of dollars for diamonds. It's artificially created scarcity. We've done that with food, right? Food is abundant. I'm growing food for the first time this year. Love it, right? It's just a beautiful experience. Gardening is part of the bigger plan and picture, self-sustainability, new education. We just, this is a beautiful time to be alive because you get to pioneer so many cool things if you would just like grab life by the horns. But again, you need energy and focus to do that. So if you're distracted and your energy is depleted, you're not gonna grab life by the horns and be able to create something cool and etch your name in the history books. But you can do it right now more than ever before. We have the availability of information and skill sets. It's like we were talking before we started filming. Like you could literally make up. Like right now, our business is doing around $200,000. It's a small coaching business right now, a year. Selling chastity. I'm not selling it, but I'm promoting essentially what we call chastity. We call it semen retention for, because that's what guys look up and it's all weird and people are like, what, I get it, right? But that's essentially it. It's just a matter, and teaching processes to actually living in integrity with your sexual energy. If I can generate a couple hundred thousand a year doing this, generally selling something a guy wants the opposite of. He wants to try to bust his nut more. And I'm saying, no, why don't you do it less? And I'll teach you how to do it, right? And I'll pay me as well. Right? I was like, if I can make that work, whatever idea you got, trust me, you can make it work in today's world, right? So it's absolutely an opportunity. And you know what? It's a total open playing field because the reality is 90% of guys are distracted and depleted. So if you're part of the 10% of guys who aren't distracted and depleted, go shape the world, man. Go create your reality as it is. Like I'm gardening, I'm working out. I started working out about just under 2 years really seriously. And actually Matt, who I was telling you about before I came here, worked out with him. I hired him as a coach. And for 6 months, I hired him as a coach for that accountability. For that, because I'm like, I need that check-in. I don't need it anymore because I'm like you now. I can feel the pull now, the push. I needed the push for the first 6 months. But then it got to the point where the pull happened. Now if I miss the gym, it's my own consciousness that's going, come on, man, you know how good you feel. And I get my butt to the gym. 100%. So that it flips. Good habits take over time, but you have to water it and nurture it. And that's where you need the community, the coach, you need to be immersed in that environment to actually recondition yourself. If not, it's very difficult to sit alone in your bedroom or in your basement or watching your phone at work, wishing you were doing something else, but not actually doing it.
Yep.
You got to put yourself into the environment as much as you can.
You have to. And that's what I've come to learn. I mean, I just want to also touch on the thing that you just said. Like, the good news is that the bar is so low.
Yeah, totally.
That to be in that top 10%.
It doesn't take a lot.
No. And it just, that's great. If you want to be somebody who's going and get it and actually developing it from a real place, a place that's true to you, that at the end of the day, you can answer to yourself and answer to God. I made the most of this existence, this beautiful existence that I've been gifted. I did it. Yeah. I really squeezed the juice out of that. That's who you answer to. Yeah. And so that's the bar that you can set for yourself, not by society standards. And what I've come to learn, to your last point here, is I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Like, there's this whole thing about like the self-made man and
Yeah,
you know, being able to.
That's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
I have not met any self-made men, and I've met highly. I coach some highly successful
Likewise.
people, right? Mentors, coaches, teams. In fact, the higher you go, they got 3 coaches. You know, they got a life coach, they got a leadership coach, they got a sales coach, they got a business coach, they got a fitness coach.
Yeah.
The men right at the top understand that success is created in masterminds or teams.
1000%. And that's this thing, like one thing I've learned about being in Brotherhood and having the places where I'm being asked, like, what are you avoiding in your life? What are the things you don't want to tell other people? Like, that's where the real, where I'm really pulling up some of the dark shit. And, you know, whatever my avoidance is probably going to be linked to my distraction patterns.
Totally.
So then as I become aware of that, but then all of a sudden, like, when I do mess up, as I inevitably do, and I'm not living in alignment with my values, like shame is a common pattern that a lot of men deal with. And shame drives us into isolation. It drives us into the shadows. And then we want to soothe that with all of these low-level activities. And what accountability or Brotherhood or a coach or a mentor does for me is it shortens the gap from when I fall flat on my face to when I pick myself back up again. And I remember who I am and why I'm here. And in doing that, I've actually created a circle around me now that I can confidently say that the people I spend time with every single day believe in me more than I believe in myself.
Yeah.
They have a more beautiful vision for me than I can even imagine.
That's amazing.
And they hold that for me.
Yeah.
When I'm struggling to see that myself, because there's moments where I'm filled with fear, doubt, insecurity, and I have people around me who are cheering me on, who believe in me, who celebrate my wins, and who invite me consistently into something greater than what I can often see for myself.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I don't get like why every guy isn't like just like signing up to, you know, like, and I'm not saying my program, your there's millions of people helping people, like do just whatever, get involved with something, anything, get into a sports team, something, right? Again, you know, get something that involves you physically, mentally, but also spiritually.
Yeah.
I think that if we don't, at least in my own life, I'll just speak for myself, it's the spiritual development that's given me the most peace, joy, happiness. You know, it's great working out. It's great reading books. It's great. But for me, like nothing's been more fulfilling than having a relationship with God and being cool with him and being like, I'm in alignment. And that's, you know, if God is a heavy word, someone says, I don't know about all that God stuff, right? It's consciousness.
Sure.
Yeah, consciousness. Like, listening to your conscience again. Remember when you were a kid and you wouldn't you naturally just wouldn't I can't steal because like you just naturally had that consciousness. You were still pure. But then the world, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of got conditioned outside of your pure nature. And that's what purity is. Purity isn't like, I'm not talking about morality. I'm largely talking about actually cleaning up purifying your body, which naturally purifies your mind. You notice, right? Like a dirty food, a little bit more dirty thoughts, a little bit more dirty. Everything is related. Once you can start to see, oh, okay, like even the food you eat, type of people you attract, what you want to watch or don't want to watch, you start giving up some of the lower base activities, overeating, pornography, alcohol, these types of things. You'll notice that even what you're attracted to changes, which is kind of amazing because you'll be like, oh, you'll even question some of the, some of the hardest part of personal development sometimes is you have to do a real check-in with who you're spending time with. And that could be a tough part of the journey, but it's necessary.
It's really tough.
It is.
You know, especially when you've had these friends for years.
Yep.
And like you said, we bond.
Totally.
We build these bonds. And even if that's not serving our highest good, there becomes a time to a reckoning that has to happen. And it doesn't have to be malicious. It doesn't have to be mean, but
no,
all of that is attention. Like attention is the highest currency.
Yes.
So where am I placing my attention towards food, towards sexual desires, towards the people in my life? And I think that's a really good question people could ask themselves is like, do I surround myself with people who believe in me more than I can even see myself.
Yeah.
Like, if that answer is no, and you don't have people that celebrate your wins, you don't have people who call you on your bullshit,
Yeah.
who don't, invite you into the greatness that you are and that you're becoming, it's time to reevaluate your network.
Totally. Yeah. I like the saying in business, the say, your network equals your net worth, not just because of how much your own network can pay you, but because of the mindset that is developed amongst higher level thinkers. And that's what it's about. It's exposing yourself to higher level thinking, to asking the philosophical questions of life, asking, questioning yourself, questioning your own mind, questioning your habits, not from a place of a judgment, but from a place of exploration. Question, think, like I tell guys with semen retention, look, yeah, you think I'm full of shit. That's fine. No problem. I'm good. Right? It's cool. Try it yourself. And then discover for yourself. Then you'll know if I'm full of shit or not. By your own experience.
Yep.
I can try to inspire you. I can try to educate you. But you eventually have to make the decision. And it's your life. You have free will and choice. Make the decision or not. It's up to you, But ultimately, if you're serious about improving your life, like you said, brotherhood, getting around other men, it's not a luxury. It is part of the process. Getting together with other men who are growing and learning from each other and sharing and connecting and celebrating each other's wins and calling each other to say, nah, dude, you said you were going to do that. I don't want to hear that bullshit excuse about you didn't have time. Could you not sacrifice an hour of sleep to get to the gym? If you can't sacrifice an hour of sleep to get to the gym, stop talking to me about how you want to be in the best shape of your life. You don't. You want to sleep. Just say you want to sleep and own that shit and drop it. Like I tell guys, the worst place to be is on the fence, right? That hurts the most. Do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
But stop wanting to do it and not doing it, because that's a painful place to be.
Yeah, man. I agree 1,000%. And I could spend quite a few more hours sitting here talking.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But we'll leave it for the next one.
Yeah.
So is there any last message you'd like to leave for any man listening?
Yeah, I think, we covered a lot, and we had it was just like, I try to give as much information as I can, when I get an opportunity to share. But at the end of the day, keep it really simple, right? Take an inventory, check in. If you notice that your sexual energy is taking you away from greater purpose, then deal with that. And, whether it's however you deal with it. And you will notice a big difference in your life. And, really search for something deeper. Live for something deeper. And I say that because it's what's brought me the most joy, most energy. Like, I'm up early, I go to bed late and stuff. And I'm not saying that to be, ooh, look at me. But I know the difference. I know the difference when I wasn't up, going to bed early and up late, and when I wasn't disciplined, and how lost and kind of unworthy I felt as compared to how I feel now, and confident and rocking life, getting to do cool things like this. Like, look at my day today. I got up early, right? I did 50 prospecting calls, talked to a bunch of people on my business. Then I had a coaching call. Then I got to do a cool trip to come out. I just finished working out with a heavyweight bodybuilding, like champion, right? Doing this interview with you, and then I'm going to go home and tend to my garden. And then ravish my wife, right? And then do it all again tomorrow. And right? I said, I'm really enjoying life. And as humans, we have a natural tendency to project whatever we are. So if you're hateful, you kind of want other people to be hateful. And we tend to do that, right? Like, if I'm sad, you kind of want other people to be sad. Well, I feel really good, and so I want other people to feel really good. And this has I've been involved with personal development close to 15 years. Nothing in my life for myself has been more powerful than understanding sexual energy and learning to transmute that energy. It was a game changer.
Yeah, well, you're a man that clearly lives it. And I've got a pretty high aversion from preachers and people who are telling me what to do. And you really clearly don't show up in that way. You speak from your heart, you speak from passion, you speak from the wisdom of lived experience, and provide an invitation for others to do the same. And that's really felt in how you show up and how I perceive it. And just let people know where they can find you, like what somebody's attention, curiosity is piqued. And
Sure.
we'll link it all in the show notes. But
Yeah, sure. So the Instagram, Nikolas, right? And if you just look up Nikolas, I'm sure you'll find me. There's not many of us around. And YouTube, you look up Nikolas. I got, I think, over 1,000 videos on the subject of retention and sexuality for men, and continue to add Instagram, TikTok, all of the regulars. And if you just go to nikolas.com, you could do the free transmutation guide and connect with me directly there.
beautiful. Thanks again, man. Really
Appreciate
appreciated this. Yeah.